Mambition. Hello, everybody. It's Mambition, and this is Tiffany. And today I have the lovely Adrian Miller. Welcome to Mambition, Adrian.
Thank
Woo!
you so much. Woo-hoo-hoo too.
Yes. Oh, Adrian, you're amazing. I was gonna go through like a whole intro for you guys, but through the conversation, I think you guys will find out a lot more about Adrian. But one thing I will say is she's incredible. She's a raving fan of New York City. She loves tequila. Yes. And she is constantly reinventing. So, Adrian has actually brought up is it two grown up children,
Yep,
and she is a grandmother of four. So, wow,
yep.
wow, you've got your hands full, like they say.
Well, my hands are more full with my
Yeah.
businesses, and my grandchildren are awesome. And I do have a regular kind of sitting thing, at least for the ones in New York, not the ones out of town. But I don't do well if I'm not really busy, to be
Oh,
honest with
really?
you. I fall to
Yeah.
the lowest common denominator, and quickly you can find me on the sofa wearing fuzzy slippers and pajamas. So I stay really busy so I don't fall victim to that, which sounds
Oh,
wonderful as I say it. What's wrong with being on the sofa in fuzzy slippers and pajamas? In fact, I might leave this call and go downstairs now, but I'll try to wait.
I love that. You say that, but I did also read about you, a post you sort of made on LinkedIn. And it said that your, I know as much as you love the comfort, you love to relax. You did also say that your grit and stamina comes from your mum, which I thought
Yes,
was really cool.
yes,
You said family love, pride, strength, survival instinct. You learned it all by watching your mum,
yep.
and you think about that every single day. Now that looking at time, looking at the fact that you are a mom, you're now a grandmother, the one maybe it's been watched. Do you often sort of reflect on that, and where is it taking you?
I reflect on my mother. We did not have a really great relationship for quite some time. I was a
Okay.
very rebellious youth. Okay, my father died. My mother was a single mom. I was the only child. I was mouthy. I was trashy. I really, if I had me, I would not be having a good time. I really would not. And well, I was going to say she hung in there. She kind of had no choice, but yes, she hung in there and worked. She wasn't a professional. She did the best she did. She did not have enough money. She did not make a lot of money. My father died young. He did not leave her any money. So, grit and stamina to be able to raise me and, try to keep me on the straight and narrow, try to temper my rough edges. She didn't really understand me. I was very, very different from her. Only
Mm,
later on did that smooth out a little bit, but not when I was young, for sure. And I know a lot of people go through that with their parents when they're young. I don't think that's such an odd story, but I respect it now so much, how she kept her cool, how she just dealt with everything I was putting out. And I think part of it was just being rebellious because of my dad dying and all that kind of stuff. Very just typical immature stuff. But no, I really, she worked all the way through and we figured it out and did
mhm.
not have a lot of the luxuries that I had, or had for my own kids in terms of support and help and all that stuff. So yeah, cheers to her. So I think about her every day, and I make my kids think about her every day. I make my sons think about her every day, somehow or another, in a text message, a phone call, or an email. I reference my mother.
Wow. I love that. And I often think about like the generational sort of pattern and the journey. And I think I like what you said there about, sort of when you put her into context, you don't sort of blame her or anything because it's only when you sort of become your parent yourself, I suppose, that you start to sort of have better understanding and maybe empathy or kindness for your parents because you realize they were just maybe doing the best with what they had, right? Just like you had to do the best with what you had. And I think it's yes, it's interesting, isn't it, when you sort of step into that role yourself.
it's, it's so funny you say that. So, I watch my sons and my daughters-in-law, who I'm very good friends with, and all the rest of that stuff. And when
Mhm.
one particularly more than another, but whatever, it doesn't matter. There's that sense of overwhelm, you know. And I want to say you're not the first person who's going through this. However, they are the first person for them. Okay.
Yes.
I also lean back and I, I mean, I think you and I talked about it. My husband traveled a huge amount. And while I had, resources and I was in a fairly good situation, I still was. I think you were the one who said to me, you were a single working mom, a single married
Oh,
mom. That's what I was. I was a single married mom. And I never used that until I heard those words, whether it came from you or someone else. I said, that's exactly what I was. I was a single married mom because my husband wasn't here for weeks at a time. Weeks, not a day, not a few days at work, weeks, sometimes for 2 weekends. Okay. Oh my gosh. And so the feeling of being overwhelmed, absolutely. He did that from the time one of my kids, from I had one son, he was one, and then I had another son. And so from the time it was 1 to 9 years, 1 to 9 years old through their lives. Talk
wow.
about hectic. So whenever somebody throws out the hectic, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't say it because I think it's rude and everyone has their own quote unquote journey to do this parenting thing. But really? And I think I was, pretty darn blessed because there was food on the table and I had a place to live and I wasn't trying to find shelter for my kids and all that stuff that a lot of people go through. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow. I like that. That sort of single married mother is interesting, isn't it? The idea that I don't know, you sounded like you had to sort of, carry that responsibility quite a lot, especially when your husband was away. But then I also think about the balance of that against your own sort of ambitions and goals, because you're clearly very ambitious, right? And I know that you said that, back in when you were raising your children in the 1990s, and you worked from home, you started a business, you were saying how that work wasn't seen as real work.
Well,
Um,
wait, start back before that. Yes, that's
okay.
exactly true. When I started my own business, there were certain things you had to do to make it be a real business that don't exist anymore. You never said you were working from home. You lied through your teeth. There's no way you could say you worked at home if you were a young female. You lied, often did not ever mention your kids. Forget about
Wow.
saying to someone, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have to take my son to the doctor." You didn't even tell them you had kids. And to that point, so I was working corporate when I had my children.
Okay.
Um, and I had my first son in July, and I didn't tell them I was pregnant until May.
Wow.
I went through my entire work schedule. I traveled. I did everything I had to do, etc. I covered my, where women now proudly have their baby bump. I don't know why this is ringing on here. Okay, sorry. Um, I covered my baby bump
Mm,
appropriately, and only at the end did everyone tell me. By now, they all knew I was pregnant, even though I didn't mention it. Because as a young female trying really hard to progress within the company and get promoted, blah 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 blah, having a kid was not in the cards. It was just not in the cards. I chose to have a child. It wasn't like it was a mistake or anything like that. But I had to figure out how to make it work. There was no LinkedIn and Facebook and mommy groups and support this. There was no internet for that. So you had to figure it out on your own. And there were two camps, the camp that was like me, and the camp of which I had a lot of friends who were stay at home. They
Mm.
never the twain shall meet. Never the twain shall meet. It was very hard. The work people, we spoke disparagingly about each other. Um, I'm still friends with some of the people who were in the work from not working camp. And you know what? This is pretty interesting now that I'm thinking about it. They're very dissatisfied. They really
Really?
they're yeah. So as hard as it was to throw all those balls in the air, um,
Hmm.
that all of you younger women who have all the support groups, I don't mean to say it makes it easier. I'm just saying you have someone else to talk to. All those balls in the air and all that stuff, you're going to wind up much satisfied as those
Mm.
years go by, as your children grow up, as they start going off to school and they're not around and they're not as needy in the same way that they are needy. They're always needy. My kids are adults and they're still needy on my mind, but you will always be more satisfied that you carved out a path for
Mm.
yourself, I
That's
think.
interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I've often thought about that, this idea of doing difficult things. And not only that, but I have often thought about how marriage, like being a wife and becoming a mother, I've thought about how they are, it's not the summit. I feel like it's a grounding place, and then from there you sort of launch yourself.
Yeah,
And that's not to dismiss anyone who's maybe a stay-at-home mom or,
not at
kind
all.
of, yeah, but I just think it really depends on, I think, finding your identity. Because I think for me, I have to work. I can't explain it. Like, I feel like I need to do something. I need to do
Okay.
something more. There's something inside of me that I need to sort of explore and go into. And I feel like it makes me a better mother, makes me a better parent, makes me a better a person in terms of, the energy I bring to my children. To talk me to that more, actually, because what is it that you think makes it fulfilling? Is it like fulfillment, this sense of doing the things that make sense to you or matter?
Well, yeah, and I think my children who are adults now, um, we have a very close and good relationship. Okay.
Okay.
And I think they respect both of us, my husband as well. They respect
Okay.
us very much. They really do. It's demonstrated in conversation how they turn to us with real questions and grown-up situations, and how what do we think about that. I have friends whose adult kids have never ever asked them a single question about something that really mattered, and their children made horrible decisions because they were acting out of a position of lack of knowledge and weren't particularly intellectually curious to really research it, and made bad decisions that about a career, about a school, about not going to school, etc., etc., as opposed to saying to parents they respect, what do you think? My kids respect what we think. They may not do it, but they respect what we think. That to me is phenomenal. I really, of all the things I look back on and what I'm most proud of, is that they respect me as an adult, as a human being, and not just because I'm their mommy.
Okay.
Would they have gotten there if they saw me do the hard things? Okay. And they still see me doing the hard things, the pivoting my business 100%, shutting down a 3-decade career that was successful and shutting it down because I wanted to do something different to suit my lifestyle now. And that wasn't easy for sure. So they saw me doing those hard things then. They see me doing it still, and that makes me feel good. Now that makes me feel good. Maybe it wouldn't make other people feel good. I don't know, but I couldn't have done it another. There was never a moment when I got pregnant, again by choice, that I wouldn't work. There was never a moment where I said, I was counting down the weeks to when I could stop working and have, and not knowing when I was going to go back, just having this open ended mothering. And again, no casting, no shade on people who do at all, but it never
Yeah.
was in my mind because it just would not have made me happy at all. My mom did not do that when I was little, like newborn. I went back when my son was a week old, really newborn. But she had to go back pretty early on, financially, and but she figured it out. Again, there was nothing, no support group there, and really working women back in those days. Oh my God, not so much. But she made it work even in a worse situation than I had because she had no money. I had a husband who worked and did pretty well, not a multi-zillionaire, but a stable, good job. And we could have I probably could have stayed home financially, but that wasn't really why I was working, honestly, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because I think you know what, that's really reassuring, especially to anyone listening, because I know a lot of the people listening to my ambition have young kids like myself, and so I know, like for example, on a kind of on a day-to-day basis, my children almost resist me like working. There's been situations where daddy goes to work and I say, "Oh, bye, daddy," and mommy going to work in the home office, and it's like, oh, mommy, don't go to work, so almost in sort of because I'm doing something outside of them, it, makes me almost slightly feels like maybe you're being selfish by chasing something for
Yeah.
you that's nothing to do with them in that way. But then, this kind of conversation gives me reassurance. But also, I know that, as you said there, the person I am and the person I'm becoming is because a lot of it is through my professional sort of experiences and achievements and pursuits. And I know, for example, it makes me the sort of mother that can do difficult things. Like you said, I can advocate for them, and I think those are things that I won't be able to bring to the table of motherhood if I didn't do. So to me, it gives me a lot of peace to know that, yeah, like it's for their best as well, even though they can't see it now.
Yeah. I think what's interesting, they will see it very soon. So I will give you one scenario. I was in the car with my son. I believe he was 5 or 6, little, still in a car seat kind of thing. And we passed my friend, her home. Her kids were slightly older than mine, probably each one was 2 years older. And he knew them, and we were just making conversation, and I said something like, "Oh, we're passing so and so's house," and he said to me, "Well, what does so and so do? What does Tiffany do?" And I said, "Oh, well, she's a mom. She takes care of," fill in the kids' names, "and she takes care of the house, and she's a mommy." And he looked at me, and I could see him looking at me in the rear view mirror. I looked at his face to see how he took that in, and he said, "Well, you're a mom. No, I mean, what does she do? What does she really do?" Like and so I repeated it. He said, "Well, you do all of that too." I said, "She takes care of name and name." He goes, "But you do that." So very quickly, they get to the age where they really can understand intellectually that you are doing that. Okay, you are doing that. And it's interesting what me watching it with again, I have 4 grandchildren. They're little. 6, 2 of them are 3. They're not twins. They're from different brothers, but they happen to have them exactly the same day, 1 month apart.
Okay.
And one's only a month old. And their moms work. Okay, both boys are married to women who have actually very good jobs and have a tremendous amount of responsibility. And unlike myself, who went back to work very fast, it was my choice. I didn't want to lose my place. There was that thought, my daughters-in-law have 4 months maternity leave. One of
Mm,
them, I think, could have six. Or well, both of them cut it at 3 months. But to me, being if I was out of that office for 3 months, I was assuming they would never remember my name. It was
mm,
nothing like it is today, where people, I know in other countries, people take off a year and 2 years and all that. There was no way when I had my kids that that was going to happen. And we worked it out. We figured out how to do it. Was it hard? Absolutely. It was hard
mm.
physically because I had C sections,
Wow.
especially the first section. I was in the hospital a week because I got sick. So it was hard, but I was very young. So what the heck? you know,
Mm,
could never
yeah.
do that today. But yeah, it's your kids, and there was no work from home. So we both left for work. You know, when I started my own business, this will be funny. I set up my office downstairs on the lower level, um, the basement, I guess you call it. But it was nice. It was set up very professionally and all that. So I actually had someone who worked for me, and I would close the door to the upstairs, and I would never came upstairs. As far as they knew, I went off to work. They didn't. They were when I started doing that. They were very young because I quickly saw that having two children and working out of the physical house, plus traveling for business, because I was traveling
Mm,
too, was not going to work. One kid, not so bad. Two, impossible. Impossible for
mm,
me. Some people juggle many more kids. I had my overload on two and working as hard as I did, and out of the house and traveling for business with a husband who was also traveling all the time.
mm.
So,
Wow. I often think about that because I think we've clearly made lots of strides since then, right? Working from home, there's better policies. Women can, I don't know, have more sort of, I don't know, confidence in starting businesses. Everything, things are better now than they used to be. But why does it still feel so hard? I often think, is it a comparison? Is it what do you think around that? Because I think surely we should have made more progress in that sort of motherhood ambition sort of conversations. We shouldn't still be talking about how hard it is when you can actually announce to her that you're pregnant. But it seems as if everyone is
well,
just having a difficult time right now.
I think some of what we hear back here, how we things have changed, is a little bit of lip service. I think the
Okay.
act of being a parent, raising the children, keeping all the stuff running in the home and stuff, in more cases than not, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, falls more on the mom's shoulders than it does
Okay.
on the dad's. And my husband, well, let's pass when he was traveling because he really was gone. But when he is the person who does all the cooking, he is the person who does all the shopping. He actually even did it back then and would cook things and put it in the freezer with a little note on what it was and stuff, because I never cooked. And he was as hands on as he could be. But he'll still say, and it's still true today, that I did more of it. He
Okay.
feels confident and strong enough in it, because I think there are a lot of guys who wouldn't say that. They would. What do you mean? He'll still say that. He really will. And I think that's true. I don't know. I don't know if it's because we biologically carry them, and we've shared blood cells that will be
Mhm.
with us for the rest of their lives. I just think that, yes, I read on LinkedIn from these dads who everything's equal. I don't know. I don't know.
Mm,
I think it's
mm,
that percentage is much less. So I still think it falls. It's the biological imperative. We bear them,
Mm.
and I think that it just it's still much harder. You see these posts from moms all the
Yeah.
time. How many times do you see a dad post with the same approach as the mom? They approach it like we're equal, it's great, our we have a very egalitarian household and all that stuff, but they don't post the, you know, how just beat up you feel, the how, you're going to bed at 3 in the morning and you still can't sleep. They don't make those posts, very few. So, and as for the
Yeah.
workplace, I think that's changed. I mean, it really was. It was like working moms, shoot, didn't really exist. It's also a financial imperative now too for a whole lot of people. I don't know. I think the workplace hasn't come as far as it should have. It hasn't come as far as it has in other countries. I'm in the United States. It's certainly not as far as other countries. I think we give more credence to being a mom and maternity leave and all that kind of stuff than we do here. And I don't know. We haven't come so far for neurodivergent people. We need to look at ourselves a little closer and see what we can do, especially if you're in a position of being an employer.
Mm.
What do you have in place?
Yeah, I've often thought about it. But I think, I mean, one thing that sort of motivates me, especially, is knowing that, when my dad was, I was really kind of raised by my dad. My mum passed away when I was young. I know that my dad didn't have the option of like working from home. So because I do, I feel like, wow, I'm so privileged. Hence, the world is my oyster. I can stay home with the internet connection. I mean, I've had several businesses in the past. I currently work for someone. Obviously, I've got the podcast, so I do feel. I think that sort of sense of being privileged, that sense of look at the time I'm in and living. To be a mother, I do feel privileged, and that inspires me a lot. But I do think about also I suppose, the systematic structures in place, and I think, for an example, there was some research that shows that mothers in the 1950s, like mothers now, do the same level of parenting as they did in the 1950s. But I know that mothers now still feel very guilty, and I wonder if it's because literally they are working full time and also parenting full time. So I wonder if that sort of split off kind of your time and focus and energy makes them feel like they're doing less, or they feel guilty about it. Um, and also, I think maybe the idea of like just technology advances. I think as much as we can have communities now online where we can come together and build a community, at the same time, I think it causes a lot of like comparison. So it makes people feel like maybe they're doing less, even though they're doing okay.
Yeah.
They have a wider kind of a set of people to compare themselves against. Whereas before, all you saw was maybe your immediate neighbors or people around you. Now you can compare yourself to the whole internet, the mothers who are killing it, the super moms. So I do think all of that sort of technology advances is kind of working against us as well.
Yeah. You know, um, I talk about this with my husband sometimes because we would we take it so much more seriously now, being a parent. I mean, I
Yeah.
so my husband's mother was when she went back to work. She didn't go back to work for the first, I think, 10 years. She graduated from Radcliffe, the sister school to Harvard. She immediately, before she went back to work, she got her master's degree and was number one in her graduating class.
Wow.
Very accomplished. And we were talking, I said, what did your mom do when you were home? It's so freaking brilliant. And he goes, she just did the regular stuff, but she, she, he would now we pay so much attention on our kids being stimulated and having these activities and focused on them. Parents didn't do that. He said she used to prop me up on the kitchen counter while she like cleaned the cabinets or something like that. And she didn't have a like special activity or anything like that. children were part of what we were doing, what we, the
Right.
adults, were doing. We didn't now, and I did it too with my kids. I flipped my whole freaking life over, and I was like, they were scheduled and they happened to play a sport that was 30 hours a week on top of me working full time. It was, no one did that. My husband, you said, I don't ever remember my parents ever coming to watch me play a sport. And he used to,
Wow.
like all kids, they play sports and they're on the baseball team and all that kind of stuff. Maybe not because you don't play baseball, I don't think. But anyway, um, um, now we change our
Mm.
entire life to go watch some game. Your kid is 4 years old. They don't even know what they're playing. Yet we change our plans. We cancel out seeing our friends. We leave work
Right.
early so we can, I mean, we're running our lives.
Right.
The, ki- the kids are primary. When I was a child and my parents had friends over, I was, I wasn't allowed to be downstairs. I had to be upstairs. Okay. Like I wasn't, now that like kids are part of everything. Like they show up
Yeah.
they're at the dinner
Yeah.
table. I had a granddaughter at Thanksgiving at this super fancy dinner in someone else's house. I brought about $5,000 worth of toys in a bag to keep her occupied. Back in the
Mm.
day, they didn't do
That wasn't expected.
We didn't do that. I mean, you shut your mouth or, leave the table and sit in the corner. I don't know. We have become, and I'm not saying that was
Mm.
right, but I just think there's a
I
middle
understand.
ground somewhere that we
Yeah.
can accomplish. I think in general, our
Mm.
kids, at least in the States, I can only talk from here, and I'm only talking about, with all due respect, kind of a privileged group of people. Okay, they're overscheduled. They have 14
Mm.
activities before they're four. My granddaughter is in gymnastics and dance and swimming and ice skating, all of which are lessons. He just
Yeah.
turned 3.
I totally get that. I do think there's so much pressure to optimize their childhood.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And you
yes.
optimize their childhood by letting them be a child, and you
Mm.
optimize their childhood by not giving them structured sports and teams. Let them pick their own teams because that's
Yeah.
where they learn how to be kind. That's where they learn to make some decisions based on criteria. Even the
Mm.
youngest ones, we adults have everything organized. They don't have to organize, they just have to slot in. And that's not optimizing their childhood. It's our playbook.
Mm.
It seems so silly to me.
It's
And
almost like optimizing porn, isn't it? It is. I think that sense of family optimization, you can almost like family optimization like porn, because everyone's going to National Art Museum. Oh, they're at the galleries. Oh, my children are going to see Santa in a castle. I mean, for example, even at Christmas, I mean, this is the worst of times for like, activities. I mean, normally our kids will see like Santa like 4 times. It's only this year when I've said, no, hang on. We're not seeing this man. More than once.
it's yeah, I feel there are people who are, because you have to be, I think, as a parent, to buck the trend, you have to be really strong. But
Yeah.
kids who are told they can sign up for one activity, kids whose
Mm,
parents say no structured activities until they're 5 or 6. What are we
mm,
doing? Let them go out and play. Just
yeah.
play. Now, I grew up in New York City. That was a whole different game. Okay.
Okay.
Certainly now, even more when I did, because it's not like you have any backyard or front yard or, and it was kind of busy. And I didn't learn to ride a bicycle because if you rode a bicycle, one of the kids in my apartment building had gotten hit by a car when they were on a bicycle because they fell in the street. It's a different game, but you can figure it out. I think everybody has to have a sense of what works for them. But then you have to be very strong, as you said. Maybe the community that we've developed worldwide through the internet and through the support groups makes us works for us, but really, are we doing it right? We have so much to compare ourselves to.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't have that much to compare ourselves to back in the day.
Mm.
But it's funny to me. I mean, it's funny to me now. I take my granddaughter to some of these activities, and you know exactly, because your daughter is almost the same age, and she's getting to be 3, and mine is 3 and a little bit. And
Okay.
it's so funny. They're so little, and off they go, and they just like I
Just
don't
do what they want.
I don't know if you can see this. Probably. Well, this is my granddaughter.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Wait,
you
no, how
can. Oh,
stupid this is. She's 2. Okay, so this is her dance recital. Her costume cost $125.
oh dear.
Um, it's weird, right? She's holding a flag. I mean, it's really weird, I think. I mean, yeah, she's cute. She's 2. She's this big. But seriously, you buy a costume? I mean, you
Wow.
actually sell it to parents? I
Hmm.
Because when I found that out, I said, that's just sick. That's just like sick. That's a, you know, everyone, we do well, we're fine, but that's excessive. Kids'
Wow.
costumes should be $20.
Yeah, it's the
Fact.
pressure, isn't it? And the people who don't buy it, I bet they'll feel bad. I mean, one of the silliest things we'd thrown money at was we signed my son up for rugby when he was like, I think like 2. He used to just
They
go
just,
there. It was like almost like £10, and every like Saturday we did it for quite a few months. And it was only after a while I thought, no, this is ridiculous. Like he used to go there, and he wouldn't even get involved in a lot of the activities. He used to just lie down on the floor and just stare at the ceiling.
yes, absolutely. We've
But I
done the
think
soccer. They just look at, they don't know what they're doing. They just
you know
should be
what I was.
playing with each other. I know. That's very
But I
funny.
think there was a sense of, yeah. But I think for no, for us at the sense of, oh, it'll be good for him. But now I look back and I think that we should just kept the money and gone like I should just bought a couple of lipsticks or something. But you know what? I love this, and I think because I love the wisdom that you bring, just because I think it's something about being able to kind of look back and speak to mothers who are doing it right now. And I love the fact that we've sort of broken it down into compartments of what you said about you working actually turned out to be a good thing for your children. I love the fact that you said this idea of them seeing you kind of like different roles was good, because I think, like I said, for a lot of mothers who are doing it right now, it feels like, is this even good for my children? Am I sort of, I don't know, destroying their childhood by being away from them? But it sounds like when you look back, you realize that it was good. Um, and I
Wait,
mean, what
wait
else
one
would you
second
say?
about, wait. So
Okay.
a lot of times, I don't know how it is now, but I'll talk about the stay at homes back then. It's not like they were having such incredible bonding time. Okay.
Mm,
I mean, didn't happen. They woke up, I think we get a little worried because, we seem to always be rushing. Like,
yeah.
for me, it was getting out of the house and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like so much fabulous stuff is going on at home. And seriously, I believe much more now than back in the day. There's a lot of here's a screen. Okay, watch Miss Rachel, or watch whatever you're watching, or look at videos of yourself, which every kid loves to
Mhm,
see videos of themselves they can watch over and over. Um,
mhm.
I think I think quality time is is you don't have quality time the entire day. Nobody has
Right.
quality time the entire day. I'm sorry. You want your kid out
Mm.
of your hair part of the day. You want to take a
Ah,
shower. I mean, seriously, no one's like. I think it's also a misnomer to see them only 1 hour a day. as an
Mm.
ongoing thing and think that's enough. But it's the
Yeah.
consistency, and it's the consistency that, we're a family, and there'll be good days and there'll be bad days. There'll be days I'm not around because I have to be at work longer, and there's going to be days that I'll take off and we can do something together, and I can take you out of school. It'll be a special day. It's as long as they see that, all of it, the big messy soup of it all, I think it's okay. I really do. And
Mm.
um, and it's we paint a rosy picture of, the women, mostly the women who are home all day, and their day is just packed with peace and quiet,
Mm.
educational pursuits, that they don't get cranky, that they don't wish their kids' grubby little sticky hands aren't all over their body, that they don't want to just give them a bag of chips and call that lunch. I mean, who are we
Yeah.
kidding? We're just human.
Mm.
Just because we had a
I love
kid
it.
didn't make us super person.
No, but it's true, and I think even for me, I'm now at that stage where my children are almost 3 and 5. Where when I'm away from them, I went to a spa weekend last weekend, and I was completely fine. I didn't feel like and it doesn't mean I don't love them or miss them, but it's
Of
just meant like
course,
when I'm away from them now, I know they're fine too. And when we meet up, it's even lovelier. And it's interesting getting there. You realize that, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is bring up, strong, capable, happy children. And that time apart, it's good as well because constant presence doesn't mean connection, right? It's about how you build it into your lifestyle and your kind of
totally.
your family's structure, isn't it?
And kids go through stages, right? So right now, our 3-year old gets her mom, who works very, very, very hard and does work in the house, has a home office, but also goes into the city, hybrid. Um, she doesn't really get so unhappy when she goes to work because it's the routines. But if,
Yeah.
like Friday night, her parents were going out to dinner, and no one really talked about it that much. She knew because I said, I'm going to come over and we're going to have a pizza party for her and her
Okay.
sister. But then when it was time for her mother and father to leave, she got
Oh.
hysterical, crying, 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 holding on, holding on, holding on. And the second the door was closed, all fine, all fine.
Yeah.
So when I was, when my son was 1, I remember this very clearly. I went to Club Med in Spain, and they had a baby club, and I took him to the baby club for just a couple hours a day because part of the reason we were on vacation, we were going to get to spend quality family time, etc. He was just 1.5 maybe. um, so we took him to the baby club, and he'd be, holding on to my leg and doing all that stuff that makes you feel guilty. And then they gently extricated him, and I walked out the door, and it closed it, and there was a two-way mirror in the door for us to look in. The second the door was closed, he went off with the teacher, and he was fine.
Hmm.
So I think they go through separation changes anyway, and designed to make us feel guilty, but we shouldn't. And you have to go to a spa. And
I love that.
everybody does better at what they're doing if they have
Mm.
some self care involved.
No, absolutely. I'm at that stage now where, I do a lot for myself and I used to struggle to do that, but now I don't feel any good about going to the gym, even if they say, oh, mommy, don't go. Because I know, like you said, after that door shuts, they are fine. And as long as they're with other adults that they love being with, then they really are fine. I'd love to hear a bit more about the grandparenting sort of stage, very
Ah,
briefly.
the grandparents are the best. Being a grandparent's much better than being a mom.
Do you think so? Why is that?
Yeah, no, being a grandparent's better than being a parent. And I'm being a little facetious, but the things I'm talking about are very real. You're in the thick of it. I was in the thick of it. Every responsibility, every decision you questioned, you thought about, etc. Um, and, and now, I mean, I know this is a cliche, but they have their parents. They're lucky enough to have two parents who are in loving relationships in a strong household. I'm there for fun.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
there for fun. Now, I know I give them a tremendous, grandparents are awesome because we have the experience and we have very little of their pressure and responsibility. The end of the day, the responsibility is on the parents. I mean, I'll even say to my kids, because my son will say, "What do you mean you didn't give her lunch?" I said, "She's not going to die and she's not going to starve. She didn't want to eat. I would have had a nagger, 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 nagger. And guess what? Let's give her some mature decision making that she wasn't hungry. She's going to eat dinner now." Now, if I were a parent, I'd be sitting at that table with her trying to smush food in her mouth, right? And I didn't. I didn't do it. You know what we did instead? We went out for a manicure. So she went and had a manicure. She loves having her manicures. And she didn't eat lunch. And my son was like horrified, just horrified. And I said, "She's fine." So that's what you can do as a grandparent. You have the wisdom and don't have the pressure of so many of the things that aren't as critical as you really think when you're a parent. I mean, I remember my kids weren't really good eaters, and I used to run around the house with a fork trying to find them where they were playing so I could shovel some food in their mouth. And I would never do that with the grandkids. Um,
Wow.
and they feel a special relationship with us. I can tell the way they run when I pick them up in nursery school. I mean, it's special. I mean, their
Wow.
parents are there every day. You're there to discipline. I mean, we discipline, don't let them do anything dangerous, but that's your job. Your job is to form this little human, and our job is to
Mm.
just be there to love them, read books and teach them and play games and help you guys out, you parents out, and give you a night where you can go out to dinner and be an adult and tell you to go away for a few days. And we're happy to stay there. Take the grandkids with us, or better yet, I went on vacation with my son and daughter in law and their kids.
Oh,
And that was
wow. Wow.
awesome. Everybody loved that. Really,
Yeah.
everybody loved that. So
Yeah.
there's lots of Facebook things that say, how do you ensure that you have your really great vacation when you're traveling with your children? And it says, take your parents. So if
It
you have
is
good
true though.
relationships with your parents, that's a great idea.
Yeah. No, we have done that as well. It's true, and I get that. It just gives you a bit of everyone gets something out of that trip, don't they? When you do it all
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
It's the best part of being a grandparent, seeing my kids be parents,
Oh.
seeing my sons be dads, seeing my sons. My husband is a really good man, and he was a really good dad, and and they respect him very, very much. Um, and just seeing them kind of emulate him,
Mm.
and
Okay.
just being good parents. And even when they're not like, I don't see us reflected in what they're doing. Some things that they do I never did and never would have done and wouldn't do now. But just watching them be mature and responsible and super loving parents, fathers, and husbands. They're really good
Mm.
husbands.
Wow.
They're really good husbands. I'm looking at that objectively.
Yeah. Wow.
So
You must be very proud of them.
I am, because I think we did a good job, but I also think they're their own people too. I know people who did, I think they were doing good jobs in their home, but their kids are not, they didn't turn out the way they thought they were going to turn out.
Mm.
So I don't know. That's big
Yeah.
questions. Nature versus
That,
nurture.
yeah, there is always that, isn't there? I think there is that sense of you do your best, but you are ultimately they're going to have to be independent individuals.
Absolutely.
It's a scary thought, but it's also an interesting thought. Um, I'd love to end this with that idea of ambition because obviously yours has evolved over time, and I love the fact that just you're the content alchemist, right? And I love the fact that you're. It sounds like your career is really, you're very passionate about what you do, and I love that you work and you enjoy it. Tell me more about how that feels for you now, that sense of ambition, where you are with it.
Oh, I love, so pivoting my work is like it's not starting a new career because I did a lot of writing when I was running the training company. I did a lot of writing for my clients, kind of behind the
Okay.
scenes. But now that
Okay.
I'm not doing anything else other than the writing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how to do something and not work hard at it. Okay, I
Wow.
really don't. It just doesn't matter to me. And so I'm working hard at it, and I'm getting clients, and I have lots of clients, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm very good at it. I think you enjoy things even more when you succeed, to be honest with you, and you feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. And I know what I do very well. I get that feedback. My clients get that feedback because I'm writing for
Mhm.
them in their voice, and I'm not front and center at all. No one knows I'm doing it. So no, I love it, and I like to stay ambitious, and I like to stay hardworking, and as long as I can do it and love it, but importantly, as long as it allows me to see my children, see my grandchildren,
Yes.
travel to Denver every month to see my other
Uh-huh.
children, to to travel around the world because I travel about 8 to 12 weeks a year.
Okay.
I'm going off, and this doesn't count the travel, to a 6 week destination right before New Year's Eve where I'm going to live and kind of do a lot of writing and thinking and
Oh,
planning the year ahead and all that kind of stuff. So that's very exciting. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm in very much control of what I am creating for my
okay.
existence. I am creating my existence now. And ambition
Wow.
is, I don't think there's an age limit on ambition.
I love that. I
There
love
shouldn't
that.
be.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I love that,
Yeah.
Adrian. I think it's very inspiring because I think you said something there like you feel like you want to work, you have to work, and that's the only way I can describe it for myself as well. Like, even in chapters of life where I didn't have to work, I want to work because I feel like I have something to give, something to offer the world or to make a difference or an impact. And I think for a lot of women that feel that, it's nice to know that later down the line, we will see that work ethic or that work sort of journey as a gift, not a burden, and actually ultimately something that our children can will learn from, and you
I'd be
actually
proud of you.
proud of them.
Be
Yeah.
proud of what you accomplish. I mean, I love the fact that my children are proud of the work I
Mhm.
do. I mean, they see it, they read it. I've won awards. They're proud of that. And they were proud of that when they were little kids. And of course,
Mhm.
there's, I think, some insecurity when you're doing it, when you're have those little kids. You're fully responsible. You don't want to screw it up, and but it's amazing how they respect you. It really, really is. And
Mhm.
I mean, my one of my grandson is oh, I have only one grandson and three granddaughters. My grandson goes to daycare, and all of the kids have working parents. That's why they're there, and
Mm.
um, they're wonderful kids, and they are so proud of their mommies and daddies because I've gone to the class and I've participated in doing some reading and stuff like that for the class. It's great. We I don't think we give ourselves enough credit when we're really in the throes of the juggle because we're a little, you got to keep those balls in the air, and one
Mm.
starts to drop. It's hard. It's really hard work, but it's so rewarding. And I think you emerge from it much more with much more self confidence and a sense of satisfaction because you made a difference. You made a difference in your children's lives, of course, but you also made a difference in the world.
I love that. Thank you so much, Adrian. Where can people find you online? I know you're on LinkedIn. Wasn't sure if you're on other platforms.
No, I mean, I have a website called Words Work Copywriting,
Okay.
and I'm on LinkedIn. Uh,
Mhm.
it's Adrian Miller, Content Alchemist. There isn't only one,
That's,
and that's those are the two places primarily.
that's it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Adrian. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I
Thank
think,
you. No, this has been awesome. This is
yeah,
fantastic. I love it. I'm so excited
yeah.
that there's programs like this now because
Mm,
well there were no programs when I was around anyway. But no, having these conversations was I think they're important conversations to have. You know. So
yes, they really are. Thank you so much. Thank you
thank
so much, guys, for
you.
joining us.
Thank
And
you.
don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, connect with us. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you so much.